Hello and welcome to Season 6 of Business Mentorship, Keeping It Real, introducing corporate leaders who have taken the leap to business owner and celebrate their great idea in our guest blog, found on shareyourstories.online. Our guest joins us from Victoria, British Columbia. Jennifer is the founder of Lighting the Path. She is an author, a podcast host, and coach who works with change makers, helping them to align with purpose and create passion-driven impact. Let's find out how marketing her business has led to increasing visibility through becoming an author and co-authoring a book, aligning with others who share her mission and vision. It's my pleasure to welcome and introduce everyone to Jennifer.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Hello, Trish. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here right now.
You know, I have a quick question for you. I was reading your guest blog. I took a look at your website this morning, and you use the phrase living legacy.
Yes.
Explain to me what living legacy actually means, because we obviously use legacy and share your stories. So what does it mean by a living legacy?
A living legacy is coming into a fullest expression of who you are right now and being known for that and having people drawn to you and wanting to be a part of your world now, not something that you leave behind necessarily, where people recognize your efforts after the fact, or a legacy is often, leaving something for the next generation or financial persona or construct around that. And retirement too, to be honest, as people, when they talk about retirement planning, it's usually about financial, but being a living legacy is really making a difference, having that impact right here and now. It's really embodying your passionate drive. And it's interesting because when I was going through a really dark time, I actually got a reframe of what passion actually meant. Can I share that with you, Trish?
Absolutely.
Really interesting, because when you break up the word passion, it's pass I on. And that I is your soul's expression of what you're here to pass on in this lifetime. So not when you die and after you die, but actually in this lifetime, what you're here to pass on. And I can tell you that I've been to numerous funerals, wakes, celebrations of life, because I've experienced a lot of loss in my life. That was one of the forms of that. And so I got to hear what people would talk about with those that had passed on. And it was the experiences they had with that person, the traits, the essence, maybe sometimes a recipe or something that really connected them with who they were when they were living here on this earth. That's why we call it the celebration of life right now. So living legacy is really about that. How are you living your life? How are you relating to your loved ones, to your clients? How are you being in service to others and to yourself, truly, as well?
You know, I find what's really interesting is, passion-driven impact means exactly that. Leaving something, making an imprint, leaving a mark, making a connection, all of those wonderful things with another human that we come across on this journey that we're currently living, right?
Absolutely.
And so when you're working with leaders who are looking to make an impact, how do you help them overcome some of the barriers that they may have about tapping into what is their essence of their living legacy?
Yeah. And see, part of the issue is that we look so externally for that information, for the validation, right, of being a leader and what that's supposed to look like. So I help people remember their true essence, but also the origin of what a leader actually is. Because when you look at the etymology of leader, it's lidere, which means to guide and bring forth. So when I mention that, there's like this aha moment, and you can actually see their body settle and be grounded into that remembrance.
Some of the pressure off, right?
It takes a lot of pressure off, because now we're not having to perform. We get to be present. We get to be on purpose. And that naturally dissolves the performance, the pressure, and all of that. That's really what disturbs our nervous system and disturbs our sense of peace and our mind, because it takes us outside of our sense of integrity. and the
Right.
freedom to choose how we're going to show up in the world and the work that we're meant to bring into it.
So that brings me to your book. So you've actually
Mm.
got two books, one that you authored and published, and the other that you were a co-author with a number of other collaborative business folks and wrote a book. So give our viewing and listening audience a little bit of a difference between the solo project and the collaboration project.
Absolutely. And I will say that first book, which was published in 2014, it's called Embrace Your Power, a
Mhm.
healing journal of self-discovery, was 30 years in the making. Believe it or not, I actually conceived of that book when I was just 10 years old because I was observing the world with all of my senses and beyond how society determines our destiny. And for years, I wanted to find a way where I can guide the destiny of souls into their most empowered way of being because I saw so much of how we can become dispirited.
Right.
And that's a whole other story. But getting into the book, that's why I called it Embrace Your Power, a healing journal of self-discovery, because it was restoring our relationship with ourselves
Mhm.
and really embracing that I that we're here to pass on. So there's a lot of prompts and self-reflection in there. And it's really a healing journey, almost like a pilgrimage to the heart. And then that really set me on my path of enlightened wellness, really focusing more on the healing arts and helping people to heal those wounds and helping heal the healers, basically, if you want to put it
Mhm.
that way.
Mhm.
And then I decided to focus more on the empowerment piece. And I'm like, okay, now we're here. Let's go into our most empowered way of being, activate that full expression to be able to transform from the inside out and really lead with that passion, that I that we've been talking about, lighting the path to profound impact and collective transformation, because ultimately that's my vision, is co-creating global harmony. And I find it's not so much about our individual journeys and missions anymore. As I've
Right.
been interviewing guests on my podcast, the common thread is that no matter where you are in the world, we kind of go through the same transformational process, the
For sure.
same divine path from that career to calling. And
Right.
so it was wonderful to be invited in with 22 other soul professionals into collaborating on the ultimate guide to leaving your legacy. And it was interesting because in those 22 chapters, a lot of us talked about really that living legacy and the
Right.
last journey that we had and the lessons we've had and insights we've gained and being able to share that now with others. And so lighting that path to profound impact and collective transformation is really the thread through everything that I do. You know, the 16 positions that I held before I delved fully into entrepreneurship, and even the business ventures that I've had so far in this lifetime, always evolving, always developing more of who I am, and then
Mhm.
becoming more of an expression of that. But it also helps me build the capacity to hold that
Yeah.
and to carry that. And I find when we don't have the right practices in place, that can all fall apart. So yes, the books help, but it also helps to be connected with others as well. And being part of that collaborative book really supported that collective transformation.
Sure. Now you mentioned the backstory to the being an entrepreneur and having been a leader and being in various different positions in your, we'll call it your previous life.
Yeah, I've
What
had many of
what
those.
what skill, what quality or business skill do you think was the most easily translatable into entrepreneurship? Because I think that's one of the biggest challenges.
Good
Lots of
point.
people have great ideas, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't action the great idea, it's just a great idea,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So what would you feel was the translatable skill from being a corporate leader that was easily manifested into being an entrepreneur?
I would say two things, but if I was to pick one over the other, I would say facilitating, because that's really about guiding, leading, facilitating, guiding and bringing forth like lidere, like a leader does.
Sure.
And coordinating is the other one that I would say. I am a very much a big picture person. And
Mhm.
so I really carry that. So I always see the big picture. And then it's like I reverse engineer it back, and then I zoom out to zoom in. And so coordinating, because there's a lot that needs to happen to create those conditions that support our calling, that support our new way of being and living in the world. And so facilitation and coordination skills, I would say.
So have you actually been an entrepreneur since 2014, since you launched your first book, or was there still a little bit more time and energy that had to go into the creation of what you're doing now?
Absolutely. Like I said, that book took 30 years from the time I was 10 to 40, right? Because
Mhm.
it was really developing. But I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit.
Okay.
And so I would say I've always been an entrepreneur, right from the lemonade stand when I was just a
Sure.
little
Yeah.
girl. Watch,
Yeah.
I'm
We've
still
all
little,
had
I'm
one
under
of
five
those,
feet,
right?
right? Yeah, but also always innovating and creating new ideas and being in school and, even in bake sales, I would say you can have one for a dime or this one for 15 cents, or you can have both for a quarter. It adds up to the same, but everyone thought they'd be getting a great deal with a quarter. So it was
Sure.
always presenting, that you're getting the best of life right now,
Right.
by the
Right.
energy. Because I find that for visionaries, it's the energy and passion that
Mhm.
creates the biggest impact. Not so much about what we do or what we say, it's the energy and passion that people remember and bring into it and make people want to be around you. And so 2006 is when I started opening up to my healing practice. Actually,
Mhm.
no, correction. I was still in more training around that. So 2008, I would say, is when I actually started a legit business. And
Mhm.
then that continued to develop and branch off into new ways because you only know what you know. And as you know more, you can do more and do better.
Well, I also find too that our client base will push us in a new direction
Yeah.
because they start looking for things that they can't find elsewhere. And because they already have an established relationship with you, they oftentimes ask us to venture into the unknown and
Hmm.
start to provide them with a new service.
Yeah.
So that's I think the natural evolution of business sort of happens as you say, we learn as individuals, but our customers also give us a whole new insight into some
Yeah.
things that we can offer.
Absolutely. And that's part of, again, that collective transformation.
Mhm.
And your business will only grow as much as you grow. And you can only
Absolutely.
take people as far as you've come.
Yeah, that's very true. That's
Yeah.
very, very true. Now, in terms of who is Jennifer's ideal client, because we all do the marketing, we all do the strategy. Some of us do business plans, others roll their eyes and go, "Oh, seriously? Yeah, that's not for me." But
Hmm.
you do need to have a roadmap to where
Yeah.
you want to go. And in order
Absolutely.
to arrive at that destination, you need to have a pretty clear and concise vision as to who your ideal client is.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely.
describe for our viewing and listening audience, who is Jennifer's ideal client?
One who feels called into service, into serving a higher purpose. So often high achievers who want to create higher impact to serve
Mhm.
a higher purpose. That's what takes them beyond the more conventional ways of being a
Sure.
leader.
Mhm.
So the transformational coaches, change makers, visionaries, service providers, these are the people that went into their career with a certain vision of what they can do with that and then found how constricting and restricting it was and needed
Right.
to break free from that because it was killing them softly. It
Mhm.
was soul sucking, you hear a lot, right?
Mhm.
And so they want that something more. They know there's more that they have to offer. They don't always necessarily have the confidence and the courage to walk into that. And that's what's helpful to have a guide or a coach to, kind of walk the path, be witness to
Sure.
your journey for you.
Mhm.
But this is where you get to really shine is when you step into that. So my ideal client is someone who is feeling that call into something more.
And now in terms of Jennifer's, future path, because you started your business in 2008, and I'm sure very much like all of our viewing and listening audience who have their own businesses, it's very different now than when you started.
Oh boy, sure
Right?
is.
Right? So is
Yeah.
there something on the horizon that you can share with us that's sort of percolating in the background that maybe, you're trying to get your ducks in a row, or you're adding some tools to your toolkit before you do a launch? Is there anything that you can share with us that's happening in the imminent future?
For myself and my business, you mean?
Yes,
Oh
yes.
yeah. Okay. Oh, yes. I've been incubating with the Leadership Ascension Alliance for quite a while now. And this is really drawing on our sacred leadership archetype
Mm-hmm.
and that we're here to pass on, and really focusing on that transformation that
Mm-hmm.
happens from the inside out. And so being able to evolve yourself from that place of remembrance into ascension by way of alignment and activation. And so we do that in the support and resources that I provide in the Alliance. It's
Mm-hmm.
mostly about the space and the people that you're with that create the right conditions for you to truly thrive in what you're
Right.
meant to be doing.
Right.
Beyond that, though, is even more exciting. And I'm still working a title around that, but it's really about those ones that really resonate with the idea of sacred leadership. So the Sacred Legends United, the Visionary Leaders Council, like that sort of environment that goes beyond just being in an alliance and kind of aligning and activating, but these are the ones that are now truly moving the needle. This is the one that are absolutely here for the collective transformation. And so it's like a mastermind, but it's more heart-centered than that.
Cool.
Yeah,
Well,
and
well,
really
you're
creating the movements together.
well, what you're actually doing is creating a safe place to brainstorm the action items that you want to take in
Sure.
that space, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
it gives folks an opportunity to be in a space where there's like-minded people that can then collaborate, as you say, to push the needle forward.
Absolutely. And be able to create sustainable impact. Because
Right.
again, we don't want to put all the effort out and burn out before we have a chance to
Sure.
actually shine that light,
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm, mhm,
Now, one of the things that we do in the guest blog is we ask folks to share 3 words of advice. So why don't we
mhm.
wrap up our conversation today with you sharing with our viewing and listening audience why your 3 words are important? And they are create, elevate, and celebrate.
Absolutely. Create knowing that you can free your spirit to direct the life that you're meant to live. So you get to create your own path. You're actually the one lighting your path. You're the one in charge of your life. And it's not society that determines your destiny, it's you that determines the destiny. So create your best life. Elevate by joining in the practices, elevating your energy, your passion, and with others that are truly aligned with the kind of work and vision and values that you have to really elevate and ascend into the full expression of who you are. And then celebrate that. Really celebrate that because you deserve it. It's not something that you're trying to earn or trying to get approval for. This is something that you celebrate because it's part of your sacred work, of your essential being. And so celebrate that. It's meant to be fun and playful and joyful. That's our natural nature. So create, elevate, and celebrate.
You know, the one that means the most to me is the celebration, because I
Yeah.
think we always forget to sit back and, smell the roses, as they say, and sort of celebrate the success that we have along the way. Because as you and I both know, there's lots of pitfalls in that journey. So to be able to celebrate the positives and the opportunities is a really wonderful way to sort of encourage yourself to keep going, right?
Yes. Yeah, we do need to keep going.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I want to thank you very much, Jennifer, for joining us today. You've given us a lot to think about. We'll certainly keep track of what's happening in the background there for your future work.
Thank
And I
you.
know that we'll continue to stay connected, and we'll sort of check in to see how things are moving along for you.
Oh, I'd love that. Thank you so much, Trish. And thanks for all who've been tuning in. I'd love to hear what came up for you through this.
And to our viewing and listening audience, we both want to thank you for joining us today for this edition of Keeping It Real, introducing you to the person behind the logo. If you'd like to connect with our guest, you'll find Jennifer's contact information in the description portion below. I'm Trish Tonai, author, artist, and the founder and host for the series. And we invite you to share your business story. Just visit our website at shareyourstories.online and subscribe to our channel, Business Mentorship, Keeping It Real. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to meeting you next time when we share another great idea.